Wherever you are, many thanks for your time. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Let's start with the Supreme Court that has directed plaintiffs in the matter challenging the power of the President to appoint the EC chairman to formally apply to consolidate their case with another by the Ghana Bar Association on the designation of Supreme Court judges by the President. A journalist, Richard Sky, and a private legal practitioner, Kwesi Dansui-Champo, are seeking an interpretation from the highest court of the land on Article 70, Clause 2, which relates to the appointment of the EC boss.
The panel, presided over by the Chief Justice, Georgina Theodora Wood, said the consolidation of all these writs will be in the interest of the judicial economy. Earlier, private legal practitioner and complainant Kwesi Dansui-Champo prayed the court to consolidate his writ with the Ghana Bar Association summons, which is seeking to compel the President to fully comply with Article 144, Clause 2 and 3, which directs the President to appoint Supreme Court judges based on the advice of the Judicial Council. This was supported by counsel for the first complainant, Alex Afenyo-Markin, but the Chief Justice, Georgina Theodora Wood, directed the two lawyers to apply to the panel sitting on the GBA writ for the consolidation. The Chief Justice explained, as chairperson of the Judicial Council, she was an interested party in the GBA writ and thus could not sit on the writ for the consolidation. Lawyers for the complainants sided with the bench and resolved to consolidate their writs.
The purpose of judicial economy, the court has directed that we consolidate, the writs before the court, because you have the Ghana Bar Association, Richard Sky, who was the first to initiate the process, and we have another lawyer, Dansui-Champo. So basically, it will help determine matters once and for all, and we think we are in agreement.
But the consolidation, will that in any way affect?
No, it will help. It will help in determining all the issues. It's proper for all of us, so that the court will not be spending time today on a matter and then the same matter on a different panel.
Meanwhile, the two plaintiffs drew the attention of the bench to the President's appointment of the new EC chair, which they deemed to be contemptuous.
If the President, while the case is pending, can appoint and even go further to swear her into office when this case is pending, I mean, what treatment can a give to the highest court of the land than this? Can't you tell them to wait?
But the Chief Justice directed the two lawyers to follow due process if they seek to raise any issues regarding contempt. Counsel for Richard Sky and private legal practitioner Kwesi Dansui-Champo stated they will make a formal application for contempt against the AG over the President's appointment of the new EC boss, even when a case on the issue was pending at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has adjourned the case without a fixed date, pursuant to the writ of consolidation expected to be filed by parties in the matter.
Away from the courts now to Parliament, where members of the House have called for sanctions against the local government minister and his two deputies for failing to answer to an invitation to respond to queries on the ministry's preparedness for floods in Accra and other regional capitals, as well as ongoing demolition exercises. This, according to the members, will serve as a deterrent to other ministers who failed to honor invitations by the House.
The minister and his deputies were billed to answer an urgent question from some members and also to meet the committee of the whole for further briefing. The MPs therefore did not take kindly to the snub.
Mr. Speaker, this morning we informed the chair that the minister is not in the jurisdiction, but the two deputies who are members of this House are aware that the questions have been slated for their ministry. And the chief whip made all efforts to get them here. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at the time, we can't be sitting here waiting for them. That's why I'm applying to the bank, to the chair, to assist us to get the ministers to the House.
Mr. Speaker, it is unacceptable. Even inviting the Speaker is trying to draw the Speaker into this debate. You should have asked the Speaker to take these ministers for sanction. Mr. Speaker, you cannot behave like that. serious issue has happened in this country, where the whole country is mobilizing resources to help, come and give account to honorable representatives of the people. You refuse to come, then you are going for national sanitation. Indeed, you go and clean one part of the country and 153 people will die in another part of the country, and you don't think it's serious, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm urging you to urge the majority leader acting that these ministers should be brought for censure, Mr. Speaker. It is not right. When we got Honorable Neil Ativandapoy, he said they had just written a letter just yesterday to tell Parliament that they could not be here. And I said that we've already printed the order paper, so they must ensure to be here this morning. Mr. Speaker, my phone is here, and I will place it for you to see.
The Speaker stated his position on the matter after expressing his disappointment.
Honourable members, this is the third time this House is being called upon to defend this matter. I have been in this House well over 20 years. I have been in this House well over 20 years in this House. And the least said about this conduct, the better. One thing that I can say for now is that the deputy should be summoned to this House tomorrow to answer questions. If they do not come, the House will look at any sanction that is available. Honourable members, the democratic path that we have chosen as a people should not be allowed to be undermined by few individuals.
Earlier, the Speaker of the Pan-African Parliament paid a courtesy call on Ghana's Speaker to urge a ratification of the Pan-African Protocol, which seeks to give it power to formulate laws that will be binding on all Pan-African members. The protocol, which was reached at the last sitting of the Parliament, has only Mali ratifying it. The Speaker, Edward Jaho, pledged to assist the Pan-African Parliament to reach its goal.
We're still in Parliament because Benson Togo Baba has been sworn in as the latest Member of Parliament to represent the people of Talensi in the Upper East region. It comes days after he was elected in a by-election to replace Robert Muzori, who resigned from Parliament to become the paramount chief of the area. The new MP was cautioned by the Speaker on leadership. He must quickly adjust to the pressures of the work of Parliament, as there will be little time for him to settle in.
And that I will faithfully.
And that I will faithfully.
And conscientiously.
And conscientiously.
Discharge.
Discharge.
The duties of a Member of Parliament.
The duties of a Member of Parliament.
So help me God.
So help me God.
An obviously elated Benson Togo Baba, immediately after the swearing in, started getting familiar with colleague MPs. In his welcome to the new MP, the second Deputy Minority Whip, Ignatius Bafwewa, encouraged BT Baba to put the nation first and hoped he will live up to expectation.
He should also be reminded that yes, he is representing the people of Talensi, but he also has a national duty. Most of the businesses we do here are not specifically constituency related. Some of them are of national character. And he should be mindful of that the national interest should also be paramount in whatever he does.
Majority Leader Albang Bagbin was optimistic he will bring his experience in public service to bear on the floor.
Let me also welcome him to the hot seat of Parliament, and that he will not have any honeymoon. He has to get straight to work. And knowing who he is, because I've known him since the 1980s, I'm sure that he will not disappoint Ghanaians.
BT Baba has only months to prove his mettle and also convince his constituents of his capabilities before the 2016 general elections. Emmanuel Ante, Parliament, Accra.
Still in Parliament, he may have apologized for allegedly describing members of Parliament as ignorant in their comments on the botched Ebola clinical trial in the Volta region. But the Privileges Committee says they will nonetheless pursue the matter to its logical conclusion. The World Health Organization scientist Professor Alex Dodu is under investigations for contempt of Parliament following the referral of his comments to the Privileges Committee of Parliament by the Speaker.
Even before Professor Alex Dodu is given the opportunity to defend himself, his lawyer Yoni Kulendi issued an apology when he appeared before the committee for investigations into the contemptuous statement.
In the heat of debate and discourse, a lot of us, Mr. Chairman, can sometimes overrun the runway without realizing you have done so. Mr. Chairman, to the extent that there's anything on record which will come before this committee which creates a direct, indirect, or the slightest inference of disrespect, Mr. Chairman, the professor takes ashes and sackcloth and says that he could not have meant to disrespect this House, any member, let alone this august institution. Mr. Chairman, I have his instructions at the earliest opportunity to put this on record.
In an apparent revision of his case, MP for Ho West Emmanuel Bedras said the scientists asked MPs to shut up if they didn't have sufficient information on the matter.
Professor Dodu, as he was interviewed about the statement that we made on the floor of the House, questioned and said things as if we members of Parliament do not know, we should shut up.
Testifying on the case, Volta Regional Minister Helen Intoso and MP for Hohoe Dr. Benis Helu were both called as witnesses, but said they were not aware of the processes leading to the clinical trial in the region. The chairman of the committee then invited a representative from the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences to reiterate their concerns about the vaccine trial, which the speaker cited in calling for the suspension of the exercise some weeks ago.
What assurances do we have that the chimpanzee-derived live adenovirus vector used in the GSK vaccine construct, although non-replicating for now, will remain dormant and not itself cause a disease to compromise the health of the people of Ghana? It is to be noted that the application for the GSK Ebola vaccine phase 2 trial in Ghana includes children, even though the phase 1 trial in the US, UK, Mali, and Switzerland was limited to adults, raising the question of dosage profiles for children and other vulnerable groups in the phase 2 trial. In conclusion, the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences wishes to state its firm position that, subject to satisfactory answers to the issues it has raised, and considering the gaps in our knowledge and state of preparedness, it would be unsafe to undertake the proposed EVD vaccine clinical trials in Ghana.
Proceedings were adjourned to enable the members of the Privileges Committee join their colleagues for a parliamentary session.
Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Please make copies of the documents available to the clerk of the committee before you mount the witness box. So we should expect you to do that tomorrow, and then on Thursday you appear before the committee. If we have to get the PI to also furnish us with whatever details they have, we can do that. The Food and Drugs Authority will also appear before us and give evidence.
So for the moment, Professor Dodu's case with Parliament is still undecided.
If you just joined us, this is Joy News Prime. We'll be back with more. Welcome back now to the rest of our stories. And the Registrar at the Medical and Dental Council, Dr. Ellis Atupi, has stated that Dr. Sule Gabar's medical license could be revoked due to his 25-year jail sentence. Dr. Gabar was jailed Monday by an Accra Circuit Court for defiling a 16-year-old boy. Speaking to Radio Ghana, Dr. Atupi said the conviction is one of the bases for his license to be revoked, adding that the council will begin the process soon. Let's now talk about this important component of our society, children, because parenting is a skill that has largely been taken for granted. But the Gender, Children and Social Protection Ministry is hoping that will change with the launch of a child and family welfare policy, which will, among others, school parents about how to take better care of their children. The revised policy documents, according to the minister, will also enhance child protection with sanctions for those who neglect and abuse children. Hannah Odame was there for Joy News.
Ghana has many laws and policies on children that have not been implemented, according to Vice President Kwesi Amissah-Arthur. He, however, wants the child and family welfare policy to become a workable one and has asked state institutions mandated to implement it to ensure it does not gather dust.
The results reveal that while Ghana had adequate laws and policies on children, these worked in an uncoordinated fashion, consequently achieving inadequate results. Children continue to experience abuse, violence, and exploitation. Therefore, rather than play a lead role, state institutions will be expected to complement these structures.
It was the same concern of the Coalition on the Rights of the Child. Its acting national coordinator, Barima Osei asked for more resources to aid their work. Josephine Dante from the Akropong School for the Blind, who read a solidarity message on behalf of the Ghanaian child, is hoping the policy would help her reunite with her father.
Since I was a child to this age, I've never seen my daddy before. So if this special policy is going to the world for people to know what is going on, maybe my father can own up and I'll see him.
Gender Minister Nana Oye-Letha says Ghanaian children can now expect to receive better protection from the state with this new policy.
Parents are the prime targets. Parents are the ones that mold the children. And we've also reached a stage where we have to do parental classes, where we can train some parents who may be found wanting on even how to look after children. So parents play a pivotal role, and that's why the Ministry of Local Government is very key, and Ministry of Education, because we are going to engage the community and sustain community sensitization on parenting and also engage them, because every district you go to, we may have peculiar child protection related issues.
For Joy News, my name is Hannah Odame.
We're still talking children because technical advice on children at the Ministry for Gender, Children and Social Protection says they will soon launch a Justice for Children policy that will clearly define the parameters within which the child welfare policy will work holistically. He was speaking on PM Express.
If you look at the social protection budget, it's one of the least. We are hovering around 1%. And like I said, looking at the country's population in need of social protection, including children, then we ought to up our game. So one of the things under this policy is to trigger that advocacy for more resources. And it's what we are going to push for.
Are we not resources, going to do that?
Resources not only for, we've already started, not only for this policy, but for child protection in general in the country.
Mr. Foley, yes. Sorry to come in at this point, but once you are coming from the ministry, the issue for me, as far as resource provision is concerned, is it's as much as a political decision.
Granted, yes.
So that I would expect from where I sit that government that projects itself as a social democratic government in terms of political ideology and thinking would put its money where its mouth is, as we literally say. Because if you if you lean to the social democratic ideology, then you expect that state-led support systems are provided for. And it is a political decision to say that, look, for us as a country, we identify and we are doing that. But for me, and I'm sure many more Ghanaians, the events or examples we have doesn't inspire that confidence. Because if I scan the social development sector for the past 6 years under a social democratic government, where funding is supposed to go, How many times Joy News hasn't carried news items on LEAP grants delaying? Yes. How many times haven't we on school feeding? How many times haven't we done even on special schools? So consistently, it looks like, I mean, that's the order of the day. And I don't see how much advocacy would have to do to get them to do it.
Stay tuned for the entire program after Joy News Prime. Now to the rest of our stories. The Upper East is the region with the highest number of child marriages in Ghana, with the Talensi and Napnam districts topping the list. To help put an end to this trend, a child protection officer with the United Nations Children's Emergency Fund UNICEF, Ruby Kokoanane, is urging parents to keep their girl children in school till they become responsible adults. She was speaking at the end of a child rights festival held at Gorogo in the Talensi district to help educate parents and the community on the need to protect children against child marriages.
In all, 10 basic schools from different communities within the Talensi district took part in the Child Rights Festival organized by AfriKids Ghana, a child rights-centered non-governmental organization that has been working to eliminate child marriages within 10 communities in the Talensi district through sensitization. The festival opened with a debate between St. Martin's Junior High School and Palugu Junior High School on the motion, educating the girl child is a waste of resources. St. Martin's JHS argued in favor of the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I hope you all agree with me that most educated girls don't have time to maintain their homes as mentioned above. Mr. Chairman, I hope my colleague girls will also agree with me that not having white-collar jobs does not mean we are housewives and therefore not important in the home. I think we should rather be proud of ourselves that the development and success of every family depends on the women.
Their counterparts from the Palugu JHS argued against the motion.
Chairman, educating the girl child is not and can never be a waste of resources. What do I ask is, educating the girl child can help eradicate social evils such as unemployment, dowry problems, and can go a long way to establish peace in the home. Mr. Chairman, consider the home that have a woman well educated as against one that is not. The truth is that the well-educated one is able to manage their home well. They spend quality time with their children and husband as well. It is no reason that you see women who are well-educated helping their husbands to give quality education to their children.
In the end, the Palugu JHS narrowly won the debate. Some of the pupils also shared their knowledge on child marriages with Joy News.
I think we should advise parents that force their children to go and marry that they should stop doing that, because if you allow your child to go and marry, your child will become early parenthood, and you yourself will not feel comfortable.
Early child marriage is a bad thing because you marry early, your education will be dropped out. You will drop out from school.
The UNICEF Child Protection Officer, Ruby Kokoanane, argued why parents need to keep their girl children in school till they become responsible adults.
When the girl child is in school, and in fact, not only the girl child, when the boy child is also in school, 80% of the time they are protected. The minute they are out of school, parents think that they are at home, they are not doing anything. Let's marry them off. Another thing too that we should work around, the problem is not just about the girl. It's not just about the girl. All of us, including me, tend to think she's pregnant. She opened her legs. She's a bad girl. Who made the girl pregnant? The last time I checked, girls don't make themselves pregnant. The last time I checked, it is men, it is boys. We are all in it together. In the play, we saw the father and the mother has push factors, pushing the child into these things. It's about everybody.
Food for thought. Let's now talk children, still children, but this time what fills their tummy. And caterers of the Ghana National School Feeding Program in the Upper West region are unhappy about some deductions by the Assembly. The caterers, numbering about 70, accused the One Municipal Assembly of theft and using clandestine calculations to deprive them of monies owed them. The caterers therefore refused to sign and collect their payments from the Assembly on Tuesday morning. Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam has filed this report.
The caterers accused the Wa Municipal Assembly of either refusing to pay monies owed them or cheating them because majority of them cannot read and write. On Tuesday morning, about 70 caterers out of 105 caterers of the Ghana National School Feeding Program besieged the Wa Municipal Assembly for payments of 31 days of cooking, only to be told by the Assembly's budget officer that they will be paid 14 instead. Their beaming smiles turned to frown and their excitement turned to anger. Two of them, who spoke on condition of anonymity, accused the Assembly of making attempts to steal their money. They revealed that since they joined the program, they are yet to derive any benefits, and what they get in return is huge debts they have to pay. They are petitioning President Mahama to save them from what they call unfair treatment by the Wa Municipal Assembly. Meanwhile, the Wa Municipal Assembly's budget officer, Julius Dabuo, denied the allegations leveled against his outfit and rather blamed the Ghana National School Feeding Secretariat in Accra. The School Feeding Secretariat in Accra is yet to react to the allegation. Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
Time now for business, but that will be after this break.
Hello there, let's get on with some business news. My name is Abigail Adomakwinchi, and we start with something on the city. And the president of the Association of Ghana Industries, James Asare, has emphasized the need for government to do more in sustaining the current gains the city is making against the dollar. The local currency has significantly appreciated against the dollar in the last few days, with the dollar now going for around 3 cedis 40 pesos, clawing back the value it lost in the last few weeks when it was exchanging for 4 cedis 60 pesos. Now the AGI believes the trend can be sustained and even enhanced to the benefit of the economy only if government reduces its borrowings and its issuance of treasury bills. President of the AGI spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the 4th AGI Ghana Industry Awards.
Government, and for that matter the central bank, should not be complacent. We saw it last year, where in August, we saw appreciation of the cedi against the major trading currencies. But we were very hopeful and in anticipation of the trend continuing in 2015. By January to date, or probably until 2 weeks ago, we have seen a depreciation, you see, very much unprecedented. We don't want to see a situation where it becomes a seesaw sort of situation. Today, you see appreciation of the cedi, it then depreciates and on and off. Let us sustain whatever gains we are achieving. There's a need for macroeconomic stability. Government should reduce its borrowing. Government should not continue to crowd out the private sector, you see, in the domestic market for funds. It will interest you to know that about 73% of all loanable funds are actually in treasury bills. How can industries expand or retool? These are difficult situations that the private sector has to contend with. But then, by and large, we acknowledge some of the challenges, and we believe that government will sustain such gains, and then we will move ahead as a country.
So how is government responding to as well? Deputy Finance Minister Mona Korte is saying the government is doing all it can to stabilize the Ghana cedi, rather see its rise to a particular parity with the US dollar. Reacting to the recent gains made by the currency, she said the cedi stability should be determined mainly by market forces. The Deputy Finance Minister, who was speaking on Joy FM, however, highlighted some measures government is implementing to sustain the recent gains.
We are now a big oil and gas producer. We produce a quantity of gas that can generate power for us at lower cost. We will do that. We will also import some gas. So using gas instead of fuel for our thermal plants will help significantly. Then in terms of our agriculture, if we continue to push the agenda for agro-processing as we are doing now, and we look at the value chain approach, it means a reduction in import bill. Again, you know, we are big consumers of rice as a nation. If we are able to continue to use our locally grown, that is bringing our import and take that dependence on US dollar, you know, away or reduced to a large extent, and therefore be able to keep the CD dollar rate at a stable rate. The idea for government is not to take the exchange rate to any particular level, but to keep it stabilized. So at this point, it must be market driven. These things should not be forced. I can give you my personal guess. I think that the market will stabilize somewhere between 3.5 to 3.6.
An executive director at Uni Bank, Clifford Metal Nunu, has highlighted a shortage of Ghana cedi on the market as part of measures introduced by the Bank of Ghana to check the depreciation of the local currency. The development, he says, has had a direct impact on the extension of credit to businesses. Mr. Nunu, at the launch of Uni Bank's 360 promo, however, says commercial banks are having to come up with strategies to go around the problem.
Well, naturally, I mean, all banks will confirm to you that the pinch is being felt by all banks. And it is, like as you rightly said, it's obviously because some of these policy directions that are coming, not only from the Bank of Ghana, but from the ministry itself. And we believe strongly that as banks, we will not just sit and wait for the impact to be negative. So we need to come up with very innovative measures. And one of them is just to make sure that at least we have some avenue to also draw in, as it were, our deposits.
Unibank Ghana launched a Super 360 promotion aimed at encouraging the culture of saving. With a minimum of 100 cedis, all current savings, gold saver, Unifund or SME Plus account holders, as well as new customers, can enter the promotion at any Unibank branch throughout Ghana.
This promo also took into consideration the exigencies of the time. You know, so you see that the prices are all tailored towards something which will give you relief. It's also a success because it took into consideration the success of the previous promos. Ladies and gentlemen, this promotion can generally go into history as one of the most eventful, memorable one in the banking industry. No doubt, this is, and let me repeat, this is the highest ever cash reward in any promotion in Ghana.
One needs to maintain a balance of 200 cedis in the account to qualify for any of the draws.
Away from matters on the city, government is hoping to get about 1,000 young people into jobs created in the apparel and textiles industry by December 2015. The youth are to be employed by Dignity DRTR, a cloth manufacturing company, as part of an arrangement by the Employment and Labor Relations Ministry. Sector Minister Harun Idrisu says another 10,000 jobs should become available by that same arrangement by the end.
Dignity DTRT is a Ghanaian-owned apparel company specialized in the making of Lacoste and T-shirts. With a workforce of about 1,300, the company says it has the capacity to absorb more when resourced. The government of Ghana intends to use Dignity DTRT to create employment for the youth. Employment and Labor Relations Minister Harun Idrisu says about 1,000 unemployed youth will by close of year gain employment in the Dignity DTRT.
The president wants to see the ice-breaking event start with youth in apparel and the employment of 1,000 young people, male, female, in the apparel textile sector. It is the expectation of government and the president that 500 of the young girls affected popularly referred to as Kaya, who have become a major social problem to us, will be absorbed under this 1,000 special intervention employment program of the president for deprived young females will be employed under the apparel, textile, and then the other 500 will be ordinary Ghanaian young people, seamstresses and dressmakers who are looking for a living and for training and skills.
Managing Director of Dignity DTRT, Salma Salifu, intimates about $2.5 million have so far been spent on training of workers over the past year. She called for support from government to employ and grow the textile sector.
We are going to train the number of people that we want to train. We are going to replicate this to the regions because it's already in our plans that once we are done in the Greater Accra region, we'll look out for the other regions and see where we can set up something like this for the workers or the people who come to the city to look for jobs, rather to stay there and work.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Employment inaugurated an 8-member board for the Youth Employment Agency, who are, among other things, helping addressing the issue of unemployment in the country.
Let's now get some updates on the ADB saga and the Securities and Exchange Commission, the institution that approved ADB's initial public offering, has revealed the bank can apply for an extension of the offer duration once the court gives the green light for the process to continue. ADB yesterday announced a temporary halt in the IPO process following the court order secured by the Union of Commerce and Finance Workers. The interim 10-day court injunction already in effect implies a shortened offer duration, but Director General of Securities and Exchange Commission SEC Edu Anani Enchi tells Joy Business the August 21 deadline can be extended, explaining it is in the interest of the market for all parties to allow the court process to be taken into its course.
If after the decision that needed to be taken, all those decisions are taken and the court realizes that the offer should go ahead, they will just ask them to continue. And what will happen if the managers require some extension of period because of the injunction, they might have lost 10 days of distributing or making the offer. They could write to the SEC to ask for extension of time, which is normal. That if you haven't gotten any court injunction, I think that your process, you still needed some time to be able to get more investors to be brought on board. You can still come to the SEC and ask under our law, ask for an extension period. It's market development. As we develop this market, I can tell you that cases in the US are many, 100 times, maybe 1,000 times more than cases in Ghana, because our market is small. We don't have many of these cases, but as we are developing and growing, you expect these cases to be coming.
Now we all for business. My name is Abigail Adomako Enchi. George Adu Jr. is standing by with sports.
That's where we draw the curtains. Before we go, let's look at stories making headlines. And lawyer for WHO scientists cited for contemptuous remarks about MPs over Ebola vaccine trials apologizes on behalf of his client on day one of Parliament's Privileges Committee session to hear his defense. Supreme Court directs plaintiffs challenging the President's power to appoint Electoral Commission Chair to join their case with that of Ghana Bar Association. Also, Gender, Children and Social Protection Ministry launches policy it says will, among others, school parents on how to take better care of their children. And the Association of Ghana Industries urges government to refrain from heavy borrowing locally to help sustain recent gains made by Ghana City on the forex market. Many thanks for your time. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. It's a beautiful Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
is Joy News Prime.